Welcome to Transmissions Alt Mode, where we look at the latest comics and other media featuring the Transformers. In this episode, we review the start of the third pillar of Skybound's Energon universe with G.I. Joe #1. Today is Friday, November 22nd, 2024, and this is episode 417 of Transmissions Alt Mode.
Welcome to Transmissions Alt Mode, the podcast that knows the best time to explain your plan to your team is right after you've all jumped out of a plane with rocket packs on your backs. I'm your host Charles, aka Big C, and I'm joined by the excellent Transmissions team. Char, aka Robo Apollo.
Hi, everyone.
And Daryl, the Cybertronian Beast.
I mean, these must have been the super secret, quiet rocket packs. Let's talk Transformers, maybe, hopefully, kinda.
Transformers adjacent. Transformers adjacent.
Yeah.
As always, we start off the show by thanking our donatrons, those lovely people who support us on Patreon and PayPal. Thank you all so much for continuing to contribute and help us keep the show going. If you are not a donatron and would like to become one, just go to transmissionspodcast.com/support. And that's where you can sign up. You get all automatically entered into contests, all the contests we do. You get bonus shows. You get some merchandise. You get to watch us record the show live if you want, as we, on Sundays before it goes out to everyone else. Lots of good stuff for being a Transmissions donatron. So, of course, speaking of bonus content, we've got our bonus show, We Like Big Bots. That's done by Daryl and Dr. Pants. We've got 14 episodes on our Patreon page for everyone to look at. Come on, Daryl, stay in the frame. Daryl, come on. This is your show. You got to talk about it. You're here. You're here tonight. No, you're still here. Daryl.
If we don't see him, he is not here. That's logic. Yeah.
I mean, you could just cut the camera on your video or actually leave the stream. You could do that too.
Yeah.
But don't do that, Daryl. Don't do that. Don't do that, Daryl.
Then all of my awesome toys wouldn't be seen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. I haven't done a Big Bots in a long time. Let's be happy.
I wasn't going to say anything. I wasn't going to say anything.
I have a feeling it was coming.
Well, and you have another person on that team too, so
yeah,
it's not just on your shoulders, Daryl.
My shoulders are holding a lot right now, and I feel like I'm just doing it all.
Yeah.
So we should really be yelling at Dr. Pants. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think you should. Yeah. Let's pass the buck around a little.
Yeah.
All right. Well, a show that is producing regular content is our Transformers Live Play RPG podcast.
Ooh, dig.
Our Transformers Live Play RPG podcast, Empire of Rust, that's done by Mike, our awesome editor and producer friend, and his team of robo players. And it's an awesome bi-weekly podcast you can listen to at transmissionspodcast.com/rust. This week we have episode 128, and that is Bouncy Gummy Gonberry Juice. That's available at transmissionspodcast.com/rust. Next week, we will have exclusively for Donatrons, an early bonus version of episode 129 of Empire of Rust. That's available just for the Donatrons because it's a week early, because the regular version will not be out until the week after. So look forward to that. That will be out on Monday. All right. We've also got our exclusive Skybound Transformers #1 comic. That's available right now on our website at transmissionspodcast.com/comic. The artwork is done by EJ Sue. Awesome guy. We had him on the show last year to talk about that. We saw him at TFCon LA. He was awesome. He helped us out. He actually sold our books at his table for us and didn't charge us anything to do that. So really cool guy. So you can, if you did not get a copy, you can still pick that up at transmissionspodcast.com/comic. We also sold them at TFCon Baltimore a few weeks ago. That was that Jim, our friend Jimmers helped us out there and sold the stuff at his table for us. Also didn't charge us. Another cool guy. We got lots of good friends, lots of really generous friends who are willing to help us out.
Fandom is full of just cool people, I think.
Yeah. So we've still got more available, so you can check them out at our website. And so again, we do not have a Toy Hacks code right now. The Toy Hacks is gearing up for their Black Friday sale next week, so they will have that available on their website at toyhacks.com. You can pick up their labels and other things at their website. We'll have a code for the month of December when we come back after the holiday, the real Thanksgiving holiday. And then we'll continue to. We'll have a code for December, and then you can, if you missed out on any Christmas presents, you can pick those up in December at toyhacks.com. All right, let's get into the show. We're going to start off talking about a little bit of comics news. Okay, well, just one bit of comics news is that the Energon universe is getting another free comic book day special coming next year. So this will be in May, the first Saturday in May. And it will be another combination book with stories from Transformers, Void Rivals, and G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe made the cover this time, so I'm sure Daryl is very happy about that. But don't worry, Daryl. There will be Transformers and Void Rivals content in the book. It will not just be G.I. Joe. It says Energon Universe, so we can expect everything in the Energon Universe to be there. So, we'll look forward to that. We are also going to have, there's another book that we talked about this a while ago. There was a book, Transformers Worst Bot Ever, and apparently this is, I'm not sure if this is going to be like a preview at Free Comic Book Day to the longer graphic novel, but that will also be available. So this is an interesting story. It's a Decepticon who turns into a ballpoint pen, and he's apparently the worst Decepticon ever, and all the other Decepticons hate him. So I'm curious to see what this story is going to be about. They've been teasing this for a while, but it's still not out yet.
Why is Optimus pointing at him, though? That's Optimus' hand, right?
I guess the Autobots don't like him either.
Yeah, I mean, that's so sad. It's like, yeah, I see Megatron's Starscream's hands, but it's like, why, Optimus? You're mean now.
Oh, well. Well, I mean, he should have turned into something better, I guess. I don't know.
Oh. We'll have to get the book and find out.
Yep. All right. Well, that's all our comics news. So now let's jump into our review. All right. We are reviewing not Transformers. We're reviewing G.I. Joe #1. So this is the Energon universe. And you can see, look, it's the Energon universe, so it's on the Transformers wiki. It's a G.I. Joe book on the Transformers wiki. It's G.I. Joe #1, the modern 2024 G.I. Joe. Yep, it's interesting. We're going to talk about it. So this is the start of the Energon universe. Or no, the start of the G.I. Joe side of the Energon universe. And there were lots of different covers. And we're going to talk about the story. So let's get into it. Transformers. I keep saying no. I want to talk about Transformers. Daryl. I think Daryl's possessing me or something. I keep saying Transformers.
Yeah, Daryl's hypnotizing you.
Just do it, man. Give in. Give in to your feelings.
I missed the Transformers 14 review last week, so I'm feeling bad about that, I guess.
You missed a good
Don't worry, it sucked.
review. No, it was good. It was Starscream centric. It was amazing and brilliant and funny.
All right, but unfortunately, we're not here. We're talking about G.I. Joe. So this is G.I. Joe number 1.
Unfortunately.
Writer Joshua Williamson, artist Tom Riley, colorist Jordi Belair, letterer Russ Wooten, editor Ben Abernathy, publication design Andres Juarez, production Ashby Florence. So let's talk about the story. Of course, this is a spoiler-filled G.I. Joe number 1 review. So if you haven't read it yet, shut off the podcast, go get the book and read it. Or if you don't care about spoilers, we're going to give you spoilers now. We're going to summarize the whole story and then we're going to talk about it. So let's go. All right. After giving a speech about the threat of giant robots on Earth to his newly formed covert ops team, codenamed G.I. Joe, Duke leads them in a training exercise. Duke, Rock and Roll, Stalker, Covergirl, Clutch, and the Baroness don their jump jetpacks in a flying mission against some automated drones. The Baroness, frustrated that their firearms can't pierce the drone's armor, takes one out in close combat with her knife. But before she can celebrate, her jetpack malfunctions and she plummets to the earth. Duke notices she's in trouble and dives to intercept before she crashes. He fixes her jetpack just in time, and they rocket away from the ground. But the Baroness is not pleased that she needed to be rescued, and curses the outdated technology they're stuck with. Later, Duke debriefs his superior, Colonel Hawk, on the team's progress. He admits that the Baroness has a point that they're behind in tech and outmatched by the enemy, so they're just not ready yet. Meanwhile, in Springfield, USA, Destro oversees the growth of the forces of Cobra. He tells Cobra Commander that the Energon they've collected is upgrading all their technology and military assets, including the battle android troopers. But it's not enough for Cobra to move forward yet. He brings a new weapon to show Cobra Commander for demonstration. Destro's Lieutenant Mercer hands Cobra Commander a new rifle. Cobra Commander is not impressed with yet another firearm. Destro asks him to humor him and fire at the dummy target. Cobra Commander opens fire, and Energon-fueled laser blasts erupt from the barrel of the gun, destroying the dummy. Cobra Commander is very pleased. On the other side of the world in Abu Dhabi, a new operative enters a flashy nightclub where the lights and music are blaring. He approaches an arms dealer relaxing with several women and surrounded by bodyguards. The man looks at him angrily and tells him to get out of here. The man's guards draw their guns and tell him he should never have come causing trouble. And then Risk goes into action. Using just his fists, he savagely beats all the man's bodyguards until no one is left standing. The man is now a little more willing to listen. Risk tells the corrupt arms dealer not to sell anything to Mars Industries. But their conversation is interrupted as Risk gets a message on his watch communicator recalling him home. Back at the pit, the new G.I. Joe team's headquarters, Duke watches the sunrise outside. Colonel Hawk approaches him and asks what's wrong. Duke is still struggling with leading his new team, and he's frustrated that he can't inspire and train them to be ready for what's coming. Hawk gives him advice that he can't make his team be just like him, and that's not his job as a leader. He needs to make them the best versions of themselves so they become a cohesive team. Duke takes the advice to heart while Hawk tells him that G.I. Joe has their first mission tomorrow. The next day, Duke briefs his team on the assignment. Recently, there was a massive event related to the giant robots that have been sighted on Earth. A large piece of their technology crashed into the ocean, and a sample has been recovered and shipped to a lab in Colorado. The Joes are tasked with protecting the sample until it is transferred to a secure facility. But unbeknownst to the Joes, Cobra also has sights on the technology and have tracked it to the same facility. Destro sends in Mercer and a team of Vipers to retrieve it. But Cobra Commander doesn't just want this to be a covert operation. He tells them to kill everyone in the facility, but leave one witness alive to spread fear of the name Cobra. The stage is set for an epic confrontation. In the Colorado lab, the Joes and Baroness in particular get restless on the babysitting mission. Baroness complains that her talents are being wasted. Stalker tells her she's free to leave the team at any time, especially since he'd rather not work with a war criminal. Baroness answers by insulting him in Russian, And to her surprise, Stalker answers her right back with an even worse insult in perfect Russian as well. Duke tells them to calm down and get back to staying alert. Suddenly, all the monitors in the facility go blank and their screens are replaced with the Cobra logo. The Joes don't recognize it, but Duke knows they're under attack. He yells for everyone to get down as an attack helicopter fires bullets into the building right on their floor. As the helicopter continues to spray bullets into the building, Cobra troopers come up the stairs for an ambush. Duke orders his team to take up defensive positions while he takes out the attack helicopter. Like the impossible action hero he is, Duke leaps from the shattered open window of the building to grab the bottom rung of the helicopter. As Destro and Cobra Commander monitor the operation remotely, Destro is surprised to see that Duke is still alive, but he's not concerned since the Cobra Vipers have something special up their sleeves. Back in the building, it's not going well for the Joes. Duke manages to take out the attacker's air support helicopter, but the rest of his team is pinned down. Stalker thinks the enemy is retreating until they toss a grenade at his feet. The explosion takes out Stalker, who is hopefully just unconscious, as Mercer and the Vipers entered and pressed the attack. The Vipers are armed with the Energon laser blasters, and the Joes are caught completely flat-footed. They have no weapons to counter literal laser guns. Clutch and CoverGirl try to get the alien robot technology sample out of danger, but it's too heavy to carry, and they have to roll it on a dolly. Mercer and the Vipers easily catch them and have them trapped, but Rock and Roll won't give up. He goes berserk and catches the Vipers by surprise with his ferocious attack, but he's quickly overwhelmed by the Vipers, and Mercer personally punches him in the face, slamming him to the ground. Despite this, Rock and Roll continues to fight on. He declares that he's been shot before, so these lasers are nothing to him. He charges the Vipers as they raise their weapons and fire at him at point-blank range. The Vipers' lasers tear through his body as the Joes watch in horror. To be continued. So that's a heavy way to end the issue. I mean, I don't know. It seems unlikely that Rock and Roll can survive that many laser blasts. But I guess we'll see. But yeah, that's a interesting way to start the issue. G.I. Joe. I mean, I like that they're using the end of the last Transformers story arc as a jumping off point here. So the part of Cybertron that crashed into the ocean is now kind of the MacGuffin that all the Joes and Cobra are chasing after. So that makes it easy to bring them together for a conflict and nice to get it started. And I like that they're keeping the teams relatively small, so it's you can focus on a core set of characters, and then I'm sure things will expand as we go forward. But it's I thought it was a good start to the story. So I'm less invested in G.I. Joe than I am in Transformers, but I'm still I read all the miniseries, and I'm curious to see where they're going with it. So we'll have to see where things end up. I thought the artwork was really good. I thought it's the same artist who did the Duke miniseries, so. The art, I think the characters, designs, and action scenes were all really well done. So yeah, I think it was good. I thought the lighting and color work was really good as well for all the scenes. So overall, yeah, I thought it was good. All right, Daryl, what were your thoughts?
Well, I mean, the start of the book, I wrote the intro to the show, so I really didn't understand how Duke was talking to anybody as they plummeted to the earth with their rocket packs. I'm looking for some kind of hearing device or something like that. I mean, they're not even all wearing goggles, which is insane, right? Like, it's just, I mean, yeah, it's a comic book, but it's it's ridiculous. The art in that first double page spread, though, it it looks it looks like, I don't know, it looks like it's on like a screen or something like that. Like I don't know how to describe it. It looks kind of fake. I don't know. It's just
made me
it's
think
a
of
weird
like
look to it.
Yeah, like it was kind of like kind of double printed, kind of like a 3D comic.
Yes.
That's what it.
Yeah,
that's what it
yeah.
made me think
Exactly.
of.
So that's kind of how I was looking at it there. And I don't know. I haven't looked at the inner pages of my issue yet to see if it kind of looked like that as well. But because our digital copy is a not final version, like a whatever. But the art, I didn't mind the art. There's an awful lot of speed lines and stuff like that. There's not a lot of backgrounds, and I don't know whether I mentioned this with the previous book that this artist did. A lot of just real close-ups and stuff like that. Not a lot of backgrounds, so it's drawn in a certain style, and I get that. The fight scenes were pretty good. How you could actually kind of see the indentation of the fist on some guy's face as he got punched. Like that's really dynamic, art. And I really do appreciate that as far as the way that the artist kind of drew this. The story, I can get how it's setting it up, and I do appreciate at the start of the book. I want to dive back to that. How they kind of went through the team and kind of said, okay, well, this is Stalker and Cover Girl and Clutch and Baroness and and all these other characters, and they kind of went through them all. And for me, who couldn't give two shits about G.I. Joe, it was nice enough to kind of remind me of the characters that I'd read in the previous Duke or whatever books. So I do appreciate that, because as I went forward, I could remember. And yeah, I may not be a G.I. Joe guy, but I do remember who Cobra Commander is, and Destro, and those guys are kind of famous villains. So I do remember that. The guys with those Cobra guys, I have no idea who they are, but yeah, the main bad guys, I know who they are. Yeah, so I mean, I thought the story was a pretty basic kind of run of the mill kind of introduction story, so I'm not going to really be too harsh on it. It was an awful lot of exposition, and they do kind of mention Transformers a bit, and how they're dealing with this existential threat of giant robots that turn into things. And they finally did acknowledge that a piece of Cybertron fell into the ocean, right? How they're gonna move it, I have no idea, right? But seems like it's just something that they could just call somebody up and do. So but it's a massive chunk of a planet, so they're just gonna get that done.
I think they took a tiny piece. They didn't. They weren't.
Well, they did, but they wanted to move the chunk to a research facility or something like that. That's what I read out of it. They did remove a piece for research, but they wanted to move the entirety of it.
I don't think that's what I thought. They were only talking about that piece. I don't think they were talking about moving the whole thing.
Oh, the way I read it seemed like they were trying to move the whole thing. Anyway, I don't care. It really doesn't matter to me. So, but yeah, so the rest of the book was fine. The fight scene was fine. Yeah, I think the dude at the end, the Clutch, I think he's dead.
Rock and roll.
Rock and roll. Sure. I think he's dead. And
dead.
Yeah. So, yeah. But yeah, I guess they'll have to bring in somebody else to, there's more people, there's more characters on the cover of this book that are featured in this book. So, so they'll bring in some more characters. So whatever. It was fine. Nothing about the book really blew me away. Um, but I guess I'm surprised they killed the character in issue 1. But he's not really dead until he's dead. So whatever. It's G.I. Joe.
All right. It's a meh from Daryl, which I guess that's not. It could be worse.
It's barely a meh. I'm coming up to give it a meh.
All right, Shar, what were your thoughts on the book?
So I have a different opinion on the book than Daryl, and that's okay. But I do want to start off and say, I am more of a Transformers fan, obviously, and I know a lot about Transformers. I actually don't know a ton about G.I. Joe, even though that was what I was more interested in as a kid. Was G.I. Joe. So I actually really liked this issue. I liked this issue better than the mini series that have come out so far. I understand why they did the mini series though, is to give background stories leading up to this issue. That I thought this was a good mixture of action and dialogue. You can see how the characters are interacting with each other. I really enjoyed the bickering between the characters, because you can see that Team Joe, they're not really a cohesive team yet. They're still learning how to be team members together, and I actually really liked that. And I enjoyed those character interactions. I really liked the art. I like there was a lot of contrasting colors and everything with and I noticed that too. There weren't a lot of backgrounds, but one thing that I do appreciate that this artist does is he'll have high contrasting backgrounds, and it's just really visually looks really stunning to me. I also got super excited when they started talking about Transformers, of course, and they show Optimus and they show Cybertron, and when they talk about Energon, with Team Cobra, and then have the Energon weapons, I was just like, oh, this is going to be so cool. So I was actually really excited about this, and just seeing how I'm really excited to see how this is going to all come together, with Transformers. And this actually might get me super into G.I. Joe. Who knows, but I really liked this. Did I like it as much as Transformers issue 14? No, but I'm biased. So, because that was, very Starscream centric, but I really enjoyed this issue. So I'm looking forward to reading more of G.I. Joe.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, I'm wondering how this is given that we're starting off with G.I. Joe is they're very anti-giant robot, which I can understand that. I wonder how long it's going to take for them to figure out that the Autobots are the good guys. I know that was a problem with the G.I. Joe crossover back in the day. The first G.I. Joe crossover, it starts off with Bumblebee basically saving a human child from getting run over. But he has to transform into his robot mode and reveal himself, where he's hiding in his VW bug mode, observing something, observing an activity, and he sees this kid about to walk out and get run over. So he transforms, saves the kid's life, and G.I. Joe immediately blows him to smithereens. So without the shoot first, ask questions later. So I imagine something similar might happen whenever we have the inevitable Transformers G.I. Joe confrontation. There's probably going to be some misunderstandings. But, I wonder. I hope we're not too far away from that. I mean, I guess it's probably it will probably be a few months before we get a real crossover with a Transformer showing up in a G.I. Joe book or a Joe showing up in a Transformer book. So I guess we'll see. But
yeah.
I do like that the Energon is the plot device that gives Cobra their advanced technology. So that's cool. You know, it is the Energon universe after all. So
Yeah.
that's good. I wonder how long it's going to take for G.I. Joe to get some Energon of its own. So
Exactly.
we'll see. Yeah. All right. Well, I guess that is our discussion of G.I. Joe #1, and we will move on to some media news.
All right. In media news this week, we have a interview with Christopher Batty, who is the cinematographer for Transformers 1. And he talked about, setting up the shots and, helping with the 3D rendering of the movie, working with Josh Cooley, and then working with ILM. So if you want to read that, give it a read. It's an awful lot of words in this interview. So go ahead and get through that. It's pretty big. So yeah, it's pretty how the sausage is made, kind of inside baseball for movie making, especially 3D movies. Next up, we've got the Transformers 1 vinyl soundtrack. So if you are a fan of vinyl and want the Transformers 1 soundtrack, but only want it on vinyl, you can now get it. You can pre-order it through this site that we're showing, at the movies. Yeah, at themovieshop.com. And it looks, if this is correct, it's a gold records. And they look pretty kick-ass, actually. Yeah. It's $57. And there's 2 records. And some pretty killer box art, album art. It looks cool. So yeah, if you're into that kind of stuff, give it a look. I believe the entire.
Sorry, you said $57. That must be the Canadian price, because here it's showing $40.
Yeah.
For US.
There you go. Weird how my computer shows Canadian things.
Oh, the art! It has a really cool artwork in it. That's cool.
For those vinyl collectors, it's 180 gram audiophile vinyl, which, from my understanding, is fairly substantial. It's thick. Includes a 4-page booklet. It's a 2 LP soundtrack to the blockbuster motion picture starring Chris Humber. Blah 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 blah. It's music by Brian Tyler, who we know from Transformers Prime. And he did a bunch of other stuff like Fast and Furious, Iron Man 3, Thor: Dark World, and the Super Mario Brothers movie. And it's a limited edition, numbered to 750 copies. And it says yellow colored vinyl. It looks gold on this picture. I would be really disappointed if I bought it and I wanted gold and it came out and it was yellow. So it better be gold. Not that I'm buying it, though. Anyway, that's a thing that you can buy. And
it looks gold to me.
Yeah, certainly does.
Yeah.
Lastly, Transformers 1 is now streaming on Paramount Plus. This is, I believe it started streaming on the 15th.
Yep.
And that is a bunch of days ago now. So, yeah, it's like a week ago. So, yeah, so that it's streaming. Anybody who's computer savvy has been able to stream it for a while now. But if you have if you have Paramount Plus, then that is the streaming service in which you will find Transformers 1. If you do not have Paramount Plus, then you will need to sail the high seas. It's not going to be anywhere else. Just letting you know. And that's going to do it for media news.
All right. Well, I think that takes us to the end of this episode of Transmissions Alt Mode. So thanks, everyone, for hanging out with us. Of course, at the end of every episode, we give a shout out to our Masterpiece Donatrons. These are the folks who continue to support the podcast at our highest level on Patreon. And that's why they get a shout out in every episode. So thank you to John Forks, Seven Good, and Steve C. You guys are awesome. And Shar, thank you again for hanging out with us this week and giving us your positive opinions on G.I. Joe #1. So why don't you tell everyone where they can find you online?
You're welcome. I'm always happy to be here when the schedules align. So you can find me on Instagram and Blue Sky at Robo Apollo. I do have Twitter, but I don't post there anymore. So find me on those sites. You can also find me on the Transmissions Discord, which is found at transmissionspodcast.com/Discord. And that's a really cool community of folks. So I highly recommend you join it if you're not a part of it already.
Awesome. All right, everyone. Thanks again for watching and listening. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Later.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Transmissions. If you'd like to join the conversation, travel to our Discord channel at transmissionspodcast.com/Discord. Want some cool transmission swag? Feast your eyes on our transmissions gear at transmissionspodcast.com/shop. If you'd like to support our podcast, go to transmissionspodcast.com/support or tell your friends about our show. We'll see you next time.